Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of The Geek Buddies! Hey! Yeah, we're coming to you live from my office here in the Outlaw Nation headquarters. Can I call it that?
Sure. It's your headquarters.
Beverly Hills' new name is?
The Outlaw Nation headquarters. Oh, I'd like that, Beverly Hills. I'm going to make some changes if that's what's happening here.
Outlaw Nation headquarters, 90210.
Oh! Give me some pool boys. I'm down. They have to be nerdy, though, I guess. Anyway, this week...
Sounds like my type.
I shouldn't have said it. This week, Michael Vogel is back from his trips down under. And I mean down under.
Down under being Miami.
In the United States. Down under in Florida.
It's the outback of Florida.
Well, sometimes. Listen, it is Florida. Anyway, so you are back now, and we'll introduce ourselves in just a second. But, you were down there in Miami. You were pitching shows. We were allowed to say that.
Yeah. Actually, I think... an article came. I was at an event called Kid Screen, which is a international kind of animation sales event, meeting place, whatever. And there was an article in Kid Screen magazine that I think we tweeted out on the Geek Buddies Twitter. So I think I can say because it was in there. I was pitching with Wild Brain Animation Studios, a Canadian animation studio, and I was pitching a new version of Strawberry Shortcake, a new version of Inspector Gadget.
Oh, you're allowed to say the titles of these things.
Well, they were in
now.
the article, so I think I can say it.
Right.
A new version of Inspector Gadget, a new version of Strawberry Shortcake, and an original property that I developed with them called Princess Alexander.
Right.
So it was really cool. And as we have discussed on Geek Buddies in the past, one of those properties, Inspector Gadget, I've been working on with my fellow Geek buddy Shannon McClung, which has been very, very exciting. So
That's cool.
It was really cool going down there, pitching a bunch of shows, meeting with people, not just American networks, but I was pitching to the UK and France and Germany and lots of different places. So it was really, really fun.
What was the most surprising network that you were pitched to? Was there a network that was like, oh, they're here?
I mean, not that. I think it was just a surprise, the number of international markets.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably the most, the funniest one was when they were like, well, the German network is coming in. I forget the name of the German network, but literally
Du hast.
12 different men and women came in and filled the room, and it was very intimidating. And they were like, Vogel, it's German. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And there was they had every Wild Brain had been joking with me that Germany was actually my last pitch, and they were like, "Are you gonna impress Germany? You're gonna impress Germany." So I really caffeinated myself ahead of time and really went for it, and I got applause, so that was good. They all clapped at the end, so I guess if they clap at the end of a pitch, that's a good thing.
It's very good for a German boy in America.
But yeah, it's actually been really great. Wild Brain used to be DHX.
Wild Brain.
Sorry. Used to be DHX,
Okay.
who I worked with when I was an executive and writer at Hasbro.
And they're out of Canada, right?
They're out of Canada, but they did the animation for My Little Pony, Transformers Rescue Bots, Littlest Pet Shop. So I was very familiar with them. I also worked with them on the My Little Pony animated feature.
Right.
And so post My Little Pony feature, I had kind of teamed up with them, and I've been in an exclusive deal with them for the past couple of years where I've been developing stuff with them. And so, yeah, they own Strawberry Shortcake. They own Inspector Gadget. So we've been working on new versions of those, which are really exciting. And then, like I said, this Princess Alexander, which is my original sort of story that is, as the article that came out says, kind of loosely based around me growing up as a closeted gay kid and kind of translating that into sort of a universal story about self-acceptance and being who you are. Hopefully coming soon to somewhere near you.
Yeah. I already pitched myself as a voice on that show. I was turned down because we don't know where it's being pushed out of yet. If it's out of Canada, I can't be in it. If it's out of America, just maybe I might get a shot.
The voices, yes, the voice recording.
Voices, right, exactly, yeah. Because I don't get to write the episodes, apparently. But I would like to be voicing some of the characters. I'm looking forward to this. I'm very happy that you went down under into America and
Down under is very
in the Florida.
It's making me feel very.
Oh yeah, were there any Australian networks? Do they have any Australian?
They do. I did not pitch to any Australian networks, but there were a lot of Australian people there that I did talk to.
Let me ask you one last question about this because I'm fascinated by this. You talk about the fact that you're pitching Inspector Gadget. I thought that you were the only one pitching Inspector Gadget. Are there other people pitching Inspector Gadget, or do you all get titles that only you can pitch?
Well,
do you understand?
Wild Brain as a company,
yes,
owns a bunch of brands.
So they can pitch those shows to other networks.
So they own the animation rights to Inspector Gadget.
Gotcha.
I believe Disney owns the live action rights, I think. But they own the animation rights. And so because I work with them as a creator, they approached me and we discussed it, and I pitched them a take that they liked, and we've developed it, and so we as kind of together took it out.
Wow. Have you ever pitched anything?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I did my first pitch at around the end of the year,
Okay.
September, October. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was a property that another company owns. I don't know. Should I don't know if I can say. Yeah.
No, you can't say.
Yeah. I'm a little iffy. I mean, my
Okay.
pitch went well. That was my first time
Cool.
doing it, which was nerve-wracking.
I'm sure.
Because that was sort of my first at bat. But pitch went well. They did not go with my take. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll be pitching again in the future. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I look forward to it. I always enjoy hearing you guys' stories about pitching stuff because that kind of thing is so weird to me, pitching shows, because you're in there in front of these people and they're just like staring at you. Impress us with your stuff. And you were one of the best ones out there, according to you. So, what's that? As we just discussed over lunch.
I reported very highly on myself.
Yes, well,
No, I
not
don't-
in a negative way. You're good at what you do.
No, I think everybody was very, very complimentary and I got good feedback. I do think, and just advice to anybody who's pitching,
Yeah, sure.
Because, as you guys know, because we all went to college together, I have a theater major degree. Like I major in theater. When I'm pitching, I don't think of it as writing down some stuff and having to read it or whatever. I just basically write out what exactly is going to be said, and I memorize the entire thing the way that I would memorize a monologue.
Gotcha.
And that way, because you are right, when you're sitting there and a bunch of people are sitting there, arms folded, kind of looking bored because you're their 12th pitch of the day and they don't want to be anywhere else except listening to another pitch, you can just go in and you just basically perform a monologue.
Yeah.
Pitching, it's the same as an audition. It just takes longer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they asking you questions after you deliver your pitch, like constant asking questions, or do you have a time frame which you get in and get out by?
No, I mean, I think sometimes they interrupt you in the middle of the pitch and ask a question. Sometimes at the end they'll ask a bunch of questions. I think it's actually good if you get done with a pitch and they go, "Thank you, that was very nice," and then they get up and leave. You probably didn't really do a lot. But if they're asking a lot, so they'd be like, "Oh, well, what about this? What would a typical episode be? Have you thought about this character? Is there more of this? Yeah, well, where's the comedy going to come from?" Like, there's a lot of questions that kind of come up even after you pitch, and so you sort of have to be ready to answer all those things.
So just like acting, though, because sometimes if they ask you questions, it's because they legitimately are interested in seeing what you'll do. Right?
Yeah.
More often than not.
Yeah. I mean, I've had many auditions where I've gone in and they said, thank you, that was
Right.
great. And then depending on your relationship with that office and with that individual person, you can kind of suss out like, oh, I delivered exactly what they wanted. That's all they needed to see. Or they knew right off the bat, like, this Shannon's not the guy for this.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's the same. Like I would much rather get done with a pitch and have them spend 5 to 10 minutes asking me a bunch of questions, even if they're hard questions. I mean, like, like with Princess Alexander, for example, a lot of places were like, well, where's the humor going to come from? Do you see this as one big story or standalone episodes? Like lots of questions about how I came up with the ideas, how serious it's going to be versus how lighthearted, like that kind of stuff. And so I think the more that you can answer that and the more that you can answer it well, it does better to sort of have them come out and go, oh, these people really know what they have a good handle on what they're doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
But yeah, it was fun. I was sorry to miss last week's episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
You listen to it and send us notes, as he does.
Yeah.
What was your biggest main note about our episode last week?
What all did you guys talk about? It was the Birds of Prey.
Yes.
And
God, I don't remember.
you talked about
There was something big. We missed something big.
oh, what was it? I had a big note.
You did. You
I did have a
texted
big
us
note.
about something we...
Well, you had said that Robin Williams was not the voice in Aladdin and the Prince and the King of Thieves. He was not. Robin Williams did not do Return of Jafar, but he did come back and do Aladdin, King of Thieves.
There you go.
With Aladdin's super hottie McNaughty dad.
Oh, Aladdin had a dad?
That's what the third movie's about.
Oh, okay.
The King of Thieves is Aladdin's dad. Spoiler.
That's a shame.
So Dan Castellaneta only did the voice once then.
Well, and I think I think he may have done it on the Aladdin animated series.
Okay.
Wait, there was an Aladdin animated series?
That's
Yeah.
better.
Oh, do you not remember the Aladdin Hercules animated series crossover?
What?
You never saw this?
I did
Hercules animated crossover
There was an
series?
Aladdin animated series, and there was a Hercules animated series, and there was I think it was at least a 2-parter. It might have been more. I have to go check. But like where Hades took Jafar out of the underworld, and Hades fought Aladdin and Jasmine and the genie, and Hercules and his friends fought the Ghost of Jafar. It was very exciting.
The Ghost of Jafar.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea of this.
Now, Jafar Genie or Jafar?
I feel like by the end of Return of Jafar, Jafar just kind of like went away. I'd have to go back and watch it and remember, but I think it was just like kind of Ghost of Jafar.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys kibitz for a little bit. I'm going to put up this thing in the back here. You guys kibitz about things in the show and whatever.
This is probably like I was thinking about this as I was listening to the podcast last week. Is that for all of our listeners who don't watch us on YouTube, this whole like kibitz while we do stuff. They're like, "What is John doing?" Just hear things going on in the background. It's like an old timey radio show.
What are you trying to say, man? What are you trying to say? Like I'm old?
That's exactly
That was it.
what he's trying to say.
I just don't even know. For those listening, John is just sort of putting things up in the window, but it's not going well.
It will go well in a second. Hold on.
Was it bad beforehand? I didn't think it was.
I thought we looked kind of nice.
Distracting before.
I mean, however distracting it was probably not nearly as distracting as what's happening now.
Yeah.
So
How's that?
it's great. Looks good.
Looks fantastic.
Looks fantastic.
So.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Great.
Then, me too.
Is it better?
Yes, it's great. It's perfect.
So you
right,
feel
now
you,
we're
you
in the
feel,
light.
You feel better now?
I do.
right.
I'm gonna make some changes to this overall because I've discovered that in iMovie I can actually block out the top.
Why would you
So
make
right
any
here-
changes to this high-tech operation we have going on here at Geek Buddies HQ?
Suck my dick. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching this episode. Okay, so anyway, let's introduce ourselves as we go around as we normally do. That was a window into the Geek Buddies world. These gentlemen, as animation people, what they do sometimes going outside, pitch their shows and get on their shows and write their shows. Of course, you've seen Shannon on camera a few times. Me, I'm just a schlub doing voiceovers and getting on here and talking about stuff on YouTube. So I'm having a good time doing that. So we all have our things.
Who are you again?
My name is John Rocha. I'm a writer, producer, and host here for the new outlet, The Outlaw Nation. That's the outlet you're on right now. I also do voiceovers and what have you. Who's next?
I'm Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated shows, and apparently quality pitcher. So there you
are.
go.
Hey.
Only down under.
This is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Silicon Valley and most recently on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Goldbergs.
Goldbergs.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, the Goldbergs.
The Goldbergs is tonight.
Oh, yeah.
As we're recording.
Yeah, and
right,
it will be
fair enough.
yesterday, tomorrow.
Or should I push the camera down a little so we don't see the back of the...
let's just-
All right, fine.
No, I think it's great.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, for those of you who are listening to us, thank you. For those of you who are watching us, thank you. You know how we do this. For those of you who are new, let me explain it to you. Every single one of us has a geek news item. We're going to present it, talk about it for a little bit. Then we'll get to our main topic. And our main topic is what happened with Birds of Prey versus what happened with Sonic at the box office and what that kind of tells us about what are the lessons to be learned in this situation. And we're going to discuss it all in the second half of the show. But first, let's jump into this thing with our geek news items. Who wants to go first?
That would be me.
Okay.
We are starting with news from the set of The Matrix 4. So The Matrix 4 is actually filming up in San Francisco right now. And as it happens when you film external scenes, or exterior scenes, in a city, images and video is going to leak out. And some of those images and videos that's leaking out from The Matrix 4 set is we're seeing footage of a very kind of John Wick-looking Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss on a motorcycle doing a little. It looks like maybe doing a little chase scene. And then there's also footage. I think it's their stunt doubles. I don't think it's them.
Okay.
But it's some wire work of them leaping off a building. And if it is indeed supposed to be Neo and Trinity, the stunt double seems to have more of a previous Matrix trilogy aesthetic. It's more the shorter hair and everything.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, but then it might not be Neo.
Right,
it could be somebody else. It might not be a stunt person. It could be whatever actor it is playing that particular role. So far, are you guys still excited about The Matrix 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that seeing the footage of whether it's the stunt doubles or whoever jumping off the building, and it's just such an extreme jump. I mean, when you watch it, it's like it's a high building, and they're like going over the thing, and you're like, this is The Matrix.
Yeah.
I think it just kind of made me nostalgic for how cool The Matrix was when it was really cool.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the Matrix trilogy, we were all a little bit done, and a little bit disappointed. But just to look at that wire work and kind of remember the first time you saw the first Matrix movie with them leaping off buildings and doing all the stuff they did, it was like it's that hopeful moment. I tend to be more hopeful than not hopeful. Like if you get me even like 20% excited, I'll push myself the other 80% and be like, I might just be disappointed, I might not, but I'm gonna spend a year being stoked about this. So I was into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I really enjoyed seeing those clips, seeing those videos. I mean, I like the one of Neo getting on the motorcycle with Trinity. That was pretty awesome. Carrie-Anne Moss back in the black leather. I mean, this is a woman of age, so it's pretty awesome to see her playing this character. I'm glad they brought her back. You know, like Tom Cruise and Maverick, where they replaced Kelly McGillis with Jennifer Connelly. This is actually Carrie-Anne Moss coming back. I'm excited about that. Seeing Keanu in the beard and everything, I don't know what that means. Are they shooting John Wick 3 or John Wick 4 rather at the same time because they're supposed to come out at the same time? I don't know, but either way, I like it. He's older, he's disheveled. The rumors are that these two are the ones training the young young Morpheus, which is rumored to be Yahya Abdul-Mateen too, the second's character. So that'll be interesting if that's actually what's going on here. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're only coming in for the first installment, which is just to kind of launch this thing.
To pass the torch.
Yeah, to pass the torch, and then we'll see what happens in the second and third installment, because I assume they've been planning this out for a trilogy and not just a fourth, fifth movie.
Yeah, and you know what kind of occurred to me is like in the Matrix Revolution, the last film, it certainly looked like Carrie-Anne Moss died.
Yes, she was hit by shrapnel in the crash. She's dead.
It certainly looked like
and
that.
So is Neo.
Well, but he was carried off. We didn't actually see him expire. With Trinity, it looked like we watched the light leave her eyes.
Yeah. Right.
So because they're obviously in the Matrix when they're on the motorcycle and everything. Are they actually bringing Trinity back, like bringing her back to life, or is she just some sort of program now?
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think like all geek things. I mean, you know, like there's all the unanswered questions we want to know, and I think sometimes it makes me nervous to conjecture because I think a lot of times like we come up with way cooler things, and then the movie comes out and you're like, oh, you know, the dead speak. Okay.
Okay.
No,
there.
But you know,
just
for example,
it's not the dead speak. The dead speak.
But I am interested to see how this all comes about, like what this is. Is this like, you know, it's like they said, like it's happened before and it'll happen again, but we've like moved everything around. Like, I think it's as I said, like despite sort of the general disappointment of how the Matrix trilogy ends, the Matrix is still one of my favorite theater going experiences of my entire life.
Yeah.
And so just the hope that we sort of get a little bit of that magic back, like, we'll see.
I read a great column in Screen Rant about this, conjecturing how Trinity can be alive, and that is based on the Matrix Online game, which is considered canon. That came out around the time when the Matrix came out.
Is this the one that featured Jada Pinkett's character?
I think so. And I don't mean the video game. I mean the online game that came out.
Oh,
there was
okay.
a Matrix Online game that came out. And Trinity was in that game because the machines were trying to simulate human beings. So they create Trinity in the Matrix to try to install her as a human being facsimile, essentially, to kind of mess with the humans. So the possibility is that Trinity only exists in the Matrix and not outside of the Matrix. So that is kind of a cheat of a way of bringing her back.
Interesting.
And they could CGI whatever they need to CGI, de-age, whatever they need to do, because she's Trinity as we remembered her from the first three films, right? So there's a way to play around with that.
That could be really interesting.
Right. And I don't know where Neo is. Neo the same thing? I don't know. It would be interesting all around, but I like that idea that, kudos to Screen Rant for going back and looking and exploring this. And then when I was reading it, I was like, this makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And you're probably right. Probably has nothing to do with that. They came up with a better idea, and when it comes down the pike, we'll see.
I didn't die. I was resting.
In my black leather. All right. Well, let's move on to our second. What's our second?
Well, speaking of resurrections, the teaser trailer for Stranger Things Season 4 came out.
Yeah.
And shocking no one,
Well,
Hopper's still alive.
yeah.
Really awesome trailer, really awesome teaser. Kind of like aerial shot of Russia. It's snowing. Bunch of people working on a train track.
Yeah.
Bunch of security people in guard towers wearing the Russian, armor or Russian hats.
Has the great deep Soviet chorus going on in the background.
The Rocky IV stuff. Yeah.
And then we see David Harbour. We see Hopper. Working on that railway.
Yeah.
Already looking pissed off and angry. And that's pretty much it. But
and they say the American in the trailer.
No,
don't they say the American?
No, they say the at the end of season 3, you sort of cut to Russia after everything with the mall and everything else.
It's a prison,
and it's
right?
like you're in a prison, and they say something about like don't get the American or not the American,
right?
And so everybody assumed that was Hopper that they were talking about, and it seems based on this teaser trailer that is correct. It's one of the, or maybe there's another American, or maybe there's somebody else. I do think couple things. One, not surprising that Hopper's back, but very satisfying.
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like I think they kind of knew that most people were like, we're not buying this Hopper is dead thing. We don't think that this is how he went down. So kind of nice that rather than dragging it out until the series comes out, like this is the teaser. It's like, yeah, okay, you guys were right. Hopper's back. But also, I think whether people love it or don't love it, I mean, one of the things that Stranger Things clearly is it is a love letter to the 80s. Mm-hmm. I personally love that. Other people are like, oh, it's just nostalgia. It's not a good story. I think at this point, they've proven that they really do have a solid story going on. Sure. But, particularly like the first 2 seasons were sort of just generally, we love the 80s. Here's all the stuff you love, the sci-fi, the bad scientists, the kids solving the problems. I think with season 3, they kind of went super specific. They're like, we're giving you the mall.
Yeah.
We are giving you the 80s mall experience. Yep. And that is leading to a season 4 that is kind of giving us that Cold War Russia 80s thing. Like, how many movies did we see? Ruskies, like Red Dawn, Red Dawn, like all of these movies. Like when we were growing up in that era where it was like U.S. versus Russia, there were so many movies where like the Russians were the bad guys in that Cold War era, everything. And it seems like that's what season 4 is going to give us, which is a very cool piece of the 80s that we have not yet seen fully in Stranger Things.
Yeah. Ruskies, that is a deep cut right there.
Yeah. I loved Ruskies.
A lot of people don't remember that.
Oh, who was in Ruskies?
It was Leaf Phoenix.
This will come up in the Schmodown.
Before Joaquin was Joaquin, he was Leaf Phoenix. So it was Leaf Phoenix, Peter Billingsley.
Yeah.
I want to say the main Russian was it Whip Hubley?
Girl, I don't know.
He played Hollywood in Top Gun.
That's Whip Hubley, all right.
He played a Russian sailor who got marooned off the coast of Florida.
Wow.
And again,
it was like a bunch of kids, right, who had to help him, or like
Were they trying to save him from Russia or send him back to Russia?
So what happened, and I bet this movie never came out on Blu-ray, but what happened is the Russians, or rather, the Soviets, were off the coast of Florida trying to purchase some sort of weapon. Like there was sort of like an American trader who was trying to sell them this weapon. In the process of them getting to shore, like they took a little dinghy, they ended up crashing. Wow. And so Whip Hubley, the one, and I think his name was Misha, the lone...
It was Misha.
Yep. The lone Soviet sailor, he ended up being marooned. It looked like his sub had left, and he ended up hiding out in this sort of like a fort that these 3 kids had made. And the kids end up finding him, and at first it's sort of... they actually talk about Red Dawn in it. Right. But at first, it's a very adversarial relationship, and then they end up becoming friends, and then the rest of the Soviets show up, and everybody gets along at the end.
Wow.
But it is total 80s.
Well, it's total 80s, and I think
adventure.
the reason that Stranger Things made me think of it is because I'm watching this teaser that's very Cold War era Russia, and we know the Stranger Things kids are obviously going to be a major part of whatever season 4 of Stranger Things is. Yeah. So I'm just like, are we gonna get a little bit of like a hint of a Ruskies kind of thing, like them, oh well, here's the Russian that's good who's gonna help us go save Hopper or something. I don't know, but very exciting, super nerdy. Can't wait for Stranger Things season 4.
Agreed. Yeah, that's great. I love it. People were mad that Hopper. Sorry, I got caught up. People were mad that I'm always directing the show. In my head, I'm like, what do I need to cover for next time? Sorry. A lot of people were mad that the Hopper reveal got shown in the trailer. But I'm like, we all knew he was coming back.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think like a big surprise.
I'd rather them do what they did than do the Benedict Cumberbatch in the darkness.
Thing,
where he's not Khan, he's not Khan, he's not Khan. Like, okay, we know he's coming back. Just show us.
Yeah.
Because do we know when the show is coming out? Is it October?
Yeah, it's supposed to come out later this year.
Okay, so tease the fans, whet the appetite a little bit.
Well, and it's also one of those things like, when a teaser gives you too much, I don't think this was too much. I agree with you. But when a teaser gives you like a big reveal, everyone goes, "Oh, it's too much. You're spoiling." And then when a teaser doesn't give you anything, you're like, "Oh, it's barely a teaser. Didn't show me anything." And I think this was great because it really doesn't show you a lot.
Right.
Like contextually, there's a lot of questions going on here. particularly, how is what's going on in Russia going to tie into all of the kids who are at least right now not in Russia?
Right.
So it does actually raise a lot of questions, and it gives you a really solid reveal, one that a lot of us suspected, but still, it's a good reveal.
And I feel like in that teaser, they didn't show any logos. They definitely didn't show a Stranger Things season 4 logo.
No,
there's no intro or outro.
I don't think they showed a Netflix logo. Maybe this is a prequel to Black Widow. Maybe this is the beginnings of Red Guardian.
No, that would really throw everybody for a loop. Hey guys, it wasn't even Stranger Things.
Prequel.
You know what happens when you assume?
Oh, there you go.
What do you got, Johnny?
So, we'll move on to the last Geek News item, and that's the Batman. Hello. Two things going on here. They released, Matt Reeves released a kind of video camera test of the Batman in his new costume with a little bit of the music from Michael Giacchino. No official confirmation that's going to be in the movie, but certainly something he scored, coming out of the red and the black in a slow motion move and then turning to his left. And then you see the collar, you see the mask, you see it goes all the way up. You see the symbol of the bat on his chest. And then we get to him, and pretty cool stuff overall. Just about a minute and 10 seconds. A lot of people were comparing this to the Joker reveal, the camera test that was done by Todd Phillips.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of people were comparing that there's a kinship here. There's a connection. This was done on purpose this way to kind of make it feel like this is the same world without essentially being overtly explained that it's the same world, that the vibe is the same, kind of taking advantage. Remember, that film made $1 billion, kind of taking advantage of getting that vibe going. The outfit has a collar, which we haven't seen on a Batman on camera before. And people like Kalinowski, our friend Kalinowski, our fellow geek buddy, who went crazy about the fact that the logo looks like the gun that was used to kill his parents split in two in the shape of the bat. So a lot of people were, and then apparently there's leather stitching, because there was a black and white version that Joe Blow put up that you could see in slow motion. There's leather stitching on the cowl and things of that nature. So very interesting stuff overall. A lot of people will reference Batman Noel to the look of Batman Noel, the outfit there, and then other things as well. This is just the first part of what we're talking about. We'll talk about the second part near the end here. But overall, what are your reactions to the costume and the score, possibly, and the whole presentation?
Love the music. Definitely sounded like what a Batman theme should sound like.
Yeah.
What we can see of the costume, because it was bathed in sort of a red light.
Yeah, red and black.
So we don't actually know what the colors are. People kind of were able to in their computers take out that red filter and kind of be like, oh, what if it were black and gray? So we don't actually know the color yet. I did like how I don't know if Matt Reeves went out and said this, but basically this is supposed to be like the second year of him fighting crime.
Right.
So this is a homemade suit. And I love the leather stitching and the body armor that he has. There's a lot of right angles in it.
Yep.
And this is what someone who is new to this is what they would be doing. It definitely harkened to some of the Arkham games. Mm-hmm. How this is sort of a precursor to those super, super high-tech suits. I thought it was super cool. And he's got a great jawline.
Yeah.
You always wonder
It's a great jawline.
how the jawline looks. And on the side of the mask, you can see a little bit of his hair sticking out.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was like, oh, that's the first time that I've ever seen happen in a Batman film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it was super cool. At first, one of our friends, Gabe, sent it to us, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I saw it was Matt Reeves, and I'm like, "Oh, this is legit." At first, I was like, "Is this like what am I looking at?" Yeah, I think it's cool. I really liked when they did that Joker reveal back in the day. I mean, I remember kind of like. I was definitely not someone who was really excited about a Joker movie that was its own thing, not part of a bigger DC universe. And when that Joker reveal happened, it was like, all right, well, I still don't know if this is a good idea or not, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that this was kind of, as we've said, I'm actually much more excited about the Batman, even if it's not tied to a bigger universe. I'm just, everything that we hear about it, all the casting rumors, all the casting confirmed, all really, really cool stuff. And so this is just one more thing in like sort of the checkmark box. It's like, yeah, the look of the costume looks really cool. Whether it is a gun or whatever it is, like the fact that there's a lot of detailing to the bat symbol and it clearly has meaning to it, I think is really cool. Sort of the homemade aspect of it. And then just the way they did the reveal, it was really stylish. The music was stylish, which makes me think that the movie is going to be really high style, really, really cool.
Yeah. A lot of people were saying that it reminded them of the Daredevil costume from the TV series.
Yeah.
The red and black.
The cowl.
The cowl, kind of the red and black, kind of giving that influence as well to make it feel like Daredevil. But I liked it. I really enjoyed the way he came out. I loved the way it was presented. Like I said, it does have kind of a kinship with the Joker reveal, which kind of puts that in motion in people's minds. But this is set in the 90s. The Joker's set in the 80s. The rumor is that it's set in the 90s. The Joker was set in the 80s. Could this be somehow a way that they cross over and make this all happen? We'll see. I'm excited for it to see how it'll all play out overall, but I think we're in good hands with Matt Reeves. I think we're in great hands with Robert Pattinson, and this is the perfect way to get people excited about it. And, of course, as a stand-up for the internet, there were some people that didn't like it. There were some people that didn't like the look of it or the color or even the score. There were some people who just didn't like it. So, overall, yeah, there's no satisfying everybody, and we'll see when the first trailer drops and what have you. But they're, 3 weeks into shooting already because they started in January, kind of second, third week in January. So I wonder if we're going to get a trailer or something by Comic-Con.
God, that would be great.
Right?
I would hope so.
What, because it's June 2021 that it's supposed to come out? I mean, if Warner Brothers has a presence at Comic-Con, because was it last year? I think they took off last year, correct?
Yeah.
So this year coming up, I mean, they would have the Wonder Woman sequel. Wait, no, it comes out in June.
Wonder
Woman,
comes
okay.
out in June, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would love it if they gave us another little
I
tease.
think that I think probably like they're waiting to see. I think if they are really excited about what they're getting,
Right.
and they're looking at the footage and they're looking at the dailies and they're like, oh, this is good shit, then I think they will want to go big at Comic-Con and get people really excited. I think if they're unsure or they're like, we don't know, maybe they won't. But I mean, hopefully they see it and they're really excited and they're like, this is definitely something that we can go and anchor a Comic-Con panel with.
Yeah.
But in terms of them doing a reveal like this, I think it's super smart because better to take control of that rather than
like whether
exterior shots.
No matter
getting
how
out.
much you try, someone is going to snap a photo of him like walking from set to wherever. So it's going to happen, and way better, to your point, to do it this way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shot of Keanu Reeves on the set of The Matrix wearing his bathrobe and slippers. So it's just you don't want that.
P.S.
Yeah.
That's the movie I want to see.
Neo worked really hard.
Neo's day off.
Neo's day off.
He's earned his time in his slippies.
Neo's excellent adventure. It'll be great.
Just the 1-0s everywhere. Oh, it's so annoying. So annoying. But the second part of the story, and we'll jump into our main story in just a second, but the second part of the story is what happened this morning as we're recording this, and that was the New York Times article or interview with Ben Affleck that dropped talking about his time on the Batman, and he revealed that he showed that the reason he left the Batman was because of his own health. And by health, I don't mean like anything like a disease. Well, some people do call that a disease. That's fair. He was the alcoholism, the addiction and that kind of situation. He read, one of his friends apparently read the script and said, if you do this, you'll drink yourself to death. And this was about the same time as his marriage was falling apart to Jennifer Garner. The Justice League, which he called a troubled shoot, had just finished shooting. And remember, there were multiple reshoots on Justice League. So there was a lot that went down there, and he ended up walking away from it because of he wanted to, kind of preserve his health. And I love that and this was in 2017. So my belief, and I said this on Mornings with the Outlaw this morning, my belief is that, and I've said this before on Movie Talk too, I think him and WB came to an agreement and they just PR'd the hell out of this and let him have a slow, graceful exit out of it while they promoted their movies, while they had him come out and do stuff, and then while they found the new Batman to come in, Robert Pattinson, and the new director, Matt Reeves. I think they did all of that. Because remember, him and Jeff Johns were going to do this Batman solo movie. Mm-hmm. Jeff Johns was going to write the script. So all of this was in motion, but he chose his health over this situation. And I have nothing but commendation and love for that. I think it's the smartest thing in the world. You guys got to read. If you haven't read this interview, you got to read this interview. He is as open as I've ever heard Ben Affleck be in the interview about his struggles with alcoholism, about his struggles with the divorce, about everything that went on with him. And he talks about how I couldn't fill the holes. You think you can fill the holes with drinking, with gambling, with women, with sex. But in the end, you can't. You've got to figure out where those holes came from so that you can fill them in yourself.
Well, you figure directing a movie, any type of film, directing a movie, that's a huge undertaking. So then you add on top of that, he's also going to be the star, which means he's going to be in the most scenes. He's going to be working the most. And on top of that, it's Batman.
Yeah.
So there's all of these expectations that are placed on top of it.
Sure. And on top of that, it's Batman coming off of...
Yep.
Two really rough, look, I mean, I'm the first person that's going to knock both BVS and Justice League and be like, these weren't great movies. But like, I do have sympathy for him and Ezra Miller and anybody involved with these movies. Cause like anybody working on a movie, especially a movie of that caliber, everyone from the production designer to the special effects animators to the costume designers to the actors to everybody is trying to make an amazing movie.
Right.
Like nobody's trying to make a mediocre movie. And so they're all working super hard. And when you have something at that level and people are just angry and furious and super mad at what you did with the character, and he's now done this twice. He did it with Batman vs Superman, then he did it with Justice League. And so even the thought of jumping into a solo Batman movie on top of everything you said, which is 100% true, it's just this had the added weight of just like, do you want to go for round 3?
Yeah.
Right.
Unimaginable pressure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a great interview. I think he walked away at the right time. And look, we've got this Robert Pattinson Batman, which a lot of people are accepting. Matt Reeves kind of slid in here to do this stuff. And maybe things happen for the best. The Way Back is coming out soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
We might be going to the premiere for it. Depends on if I get that invitation in time. I certainly want to go because I made it very clear this is a film I genuinely want to cover as much as possible in the Outlaw Nation because it looks fantastic.
Did you see the new trailer?
Yes.
It's really good.
Man, it's so good. I think that's going to be one of the things we talk about tomorrow night on Mornings with the Outlaw because I want to raise awareness for that film as much as possible.
Do you drink coffee on Mornings with the Outlaw?
I do not. I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee.
You need to start drinking coffee.
Why?
I don't know. I just want to see you just
A hot beverage.
hot beverage.
Oh, I have my iced tea every morning.
That's iced.
Yeah.
You need a hot beverage.
You
Hey,
need a
it's
mug
morning.
with,
You need a
with
mug.
steam
really?
coming off.
Mug with like the Outlaw's face on it.
The Outlaw Nation logo
Yeah.
on the mug?
Yeah.
All right.
And to take a Keanu
With his bathrobe
with a robe.
Don't even joke.
Hat, robe, mug.
Oh, my God. That's perfect. Can I get a pipe? Can I get a pipe?
Yes,
That would
you
be
can have a
even
pipe.
better.
A pipe works.
Only if it blows bubbles.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I do agree with you. I think it's really commendable. I mean, like I think Ben Affleck's struggles
Yeah.
are not really a secret.
No. They're
But
well documented.
But for him to come out and sort of own the narrative and talk about it and reveal something that really he didn't have to reveal.
Nope.
You know, I mean, especially being as open, like, you know, he could have just said, it was a rough time. I'm getting my life together. End of story.
Absolutely.
But to really kind of go into the detail that he went into about Batman and about, you know, his friends kind of saying, like, if you do this, like that, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to sort of admit that to anybody, to your friends, let alone like publicly to the world. So
yeah. No, and I respect that too. You got to make decisions that are best for you, and he did that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all move on. There's another Batman. And he is his sobriety. And to me, and I know we're gonna wrap it up here to move on to the main topic, but I like the fact that he understood what the situation was and made decisions that were hard, but he made those decisions that were strong. And this could be a second renaissance of Ben Affleck. Because of what happened. I mean, him coming back from what happened with Geely and Jersey Girl and all that stuff to become this like revered director with a Best Picture winner in Argo under his belt, to fall back down with the situations that were going on with the Batman and everything like that and his divorce. And if he climbs back out of this to become an even more incredible director where he is consistently being nominated for films.
I just want him
that's
to direct.
something. Yeah.
I mean, look, he's a fine actor.
He's a good
I have no issue. I mean, like
Armageddon 2. Come on.
I mean, I had a huge crush on him back in those Armageddon days. I think he's a really fun actor. But like as a director, I think he is so much stronger than he is as an actor. And he's so good. If he spent the rest of his career directing, I think better for him and probably better for all of us.
Yeah, agreed. And we'll see if like this changes him to be an even more incredible director. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
That what stories he'll tell. All right. Well, that's our geek news items for this episode. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors on the podcast. We're going to look at you real weirdly on the YouTube thing and jump into our main topic after this.
Should we do a little Rochambeau?
What's Rochambeau?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh. This is what's wrong with everybody.
Well, it's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Ooh.
I beat you, but
yeah. Okay. Good.
All right. So
Anyway, you want to kick off our main topic there, Mikey?
yeah. Here's the kickoff. Sonic the Hedgehog. Who knew? Who knew?
Thanks for watching, everybody. That's
it. Huge. It's huge.
Huge.
Sonic the Hedgehog. Really positive reviews.
Yes.
Really high scores on Rotten Tomatoes, everything, and huge opening weekend.
Nobody saw it coming. $68 million.
Yeah.
It was projected about 50 to 55, and on the heels of Birds of Prey underperforming at 32 point something, very, very shocking. The trailers to this one didn't exactly make it seem like it was going to do that at the box office. Certainly the issues with the design of Sonic, going back to a lot of drama was culled from that. A lot of pundits were for it. A lot of pundits were against it, saying that the studios are bowing to the fans and who are they to decide creative decisions about a film? Blah. So there was so much involved in this. You get Jim Carrey, you get James Marsden in this, and then somehow out of nowhere, this thing makes a crap ton of money and leaves a good feeling with people who go to see it.
I mean, you two haven't seen it.
No, not yet.
So I saw it, and it's really fun. It's a really fun movie. As we were talking about it at lunchtime, like. It's not when I say Sonic is a good movie, it's not good in the way that like Lego Movie, for example, is good. Like Lego Movie was they're making a movie about Legos. What is this going to be? And then you go see it, and Lego Movie is just an amazing animated feature film. Period. It's just a fantastic film, an amazing story. It's so good. I don't think Sonic is on that level. I would say that Sonic is like a really awesome 90s movie that just got transported to 2020. But I mean that in a good way. Like the story is not any kind of revolutionary story. It's kind of a by the numbers sort of buddy road movie. But the numbers work. It's a by the numbers movie where the numbers are solid. So it works really well. I think to your point, I think ultimately the change from the old design to the new design and that being such a public thing ultimately ended up being a great PR thing for them as well as probably the right move. Just because I think had the trailers come out and Sonic had just looked good from the beginning, you'd have been like, okay, a Sonic movie is coming out. But because he looked so horrific and then the studio said, we're pushing it, we're fixing it, and then they fixed it and he looked correct.
Yeah.
I think that actually ended up giving them like a huge just groundswell of goodwill.
Yeah. But do you think that sets sort of a risky precedent for movies going forward?
Right, and that's the conversation.
No, because here's the thing. I mean, this is what really bugs me about it is like, let's all stop being stupid. Like this whole like, well, does this mean that every studio now has to bow to fans, or does this mean this, or fans get to dictate everything? Like, in this case, the fans were right. In a lot of cases, the fans were wrong. Anybody looking at that Sonic would be like, that's a bad idea.
Right.
Like, that wasn't good. It didn't look good.
Yeah.
Fans were correct. Recognizing that you did something wrong and fixing it does not automatically mean that now every time fans get upset about something, it has to be adjusted. Like, sometimes fans are super incorrect about stuff. Like, thinking that Kylo Ren and Rey should get together, for example. But as an example, just as an example.
I get it.
You
want to see us stoned in the square. Thanks, man.
But so I just think that like this whole narrative that like it's an all or nothing thing, that this means that studios will now always have to do this, or the studio should never do this. Like in this case, the studio made the right creative call.
Yeah.
And I think that should be celebrated, not criticized.
Right.
Like by any stretch, looking at the Sonic that is on the screen now and looking what was in that first trailer, there's no contest to which Sonic looks more like Sonic.
Right.
And I do, and I, you know what, I think like I wasn't at Paramount. I don't know what the conversations were, but I do think that early on, my personal opinion is I do think that Detective Pikachu played a role in them making this decision. I think that in the early discussions for Sonic, there was probably this idea that you had to
make it real world.
Create a Sonic that fit into a real world. Like, he has to organically fit. You can't just have a video game character running around. This has to look good. Detective Pikachu comes along, and you have realistic-looking Pokemon that still look like the Pokemon characters. Yeah. And then everyone flipped out about the Sonic look. And I think those two things together, you kind of went, because at that point, you could point to Detective Pikachu and go, no, that's how you do it.
Right.
And now you have a roadmap, and Sonic very much looks like he's in that vein. Like, he's got enough detailing, he's got enough individual quills in his hair that he fits in the world, but he feels like Sonic.
Yeah? Do you agree?
I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say.
Right.
I can't say. But I do think it's interesting that there is probably a certain level of empowerment and entitlement to fans to be like, listen, look, we were right. From now on, you need to listen to us.
Well,
and no one's gonna no one's batting 1,000.
That's true. No, on either side, no one bats 1,000, and that's part of the entertainment world. Like everything is subjective. all the way from creative decisions to the actual overall product when it comes out. And so those are the things that you grapple with, or you analyze, you look at. And I think you're right. I think, Mike, you make a great point. This is one instance where it worked out correctly.
Yeah.
Right? What's another instance they could have gone back and changed? Oh, this with the Star Wars, it could have gone back and reshot those scenes, or like so many films come out and have those reshoots because of fan reactions.
And again, I mean, based on a lot of the rumors surrounding the different versions of Rise of Skywalker and everything else,
right.
like I think an example where you could say maybe the studios seemingly listened to something that they shouldn't have is Kelly Marie Tran's role between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. She had clearly a much smaller role, to the point where it did seem, and again, I don't know this for sure, but it did seem as if they were saying, look, the Star Wars fans really didn't like Rose. Let's pull that back. And I think that ultimately did not work in their favor.
Yeah. Rose, pay me $5 million. Then you can write it whatever role you want for me. $5 million. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing you're going to explore more and more is like some directors might knee-jerk react to this and be like, oh, if this is what's going to be like at the studios. But you got to understand, if it's a property, it's a franchise, there are more eyes on it. Like we were just talking about Ben Affleck before the break, and this idea of how much pressure is on a director or a production team to get it right. Yes, you say, oh, there's no, they don't make good video game movies. And you think to yourself, well, if the bar's that low, I don't have to work that hard. But if you do work that hard, look at the results, right? And there have been rumors already that there's a Sonic the Hedgehog 2 already in production that they already greenlighted.
I heard that they greenlit a Sonic 2 even before the opening weekend. I heard that they were like so happy with what they were getting, and I do think like it was the right balance of like it gave you exactly what you wanted, and it was Sonic, it was the rings, it was Dr. Robotnik, but in just a different enough way that it still felt new, and kind of like, I don't think the whole movie works. I think sometimes jokes kind of land flat or moments land flat, but then when moments work, and Jim Carrey, for example, like there's a lot of times where it's like he's kind of almost too much doing his Jim Carrey thing. In a couple moments, you're like, it's a little too much. But then he'll do something that is just like vintage, pure, old school. Like, what the hell are you doing, Jim Carrey? And you're like, I'm into this. I dig it. Like, this is cool. I think the real question is, and harder, I mean, you guys haven't seen Sonic, but just based on the reactions and stuff, is like, what did Sonic do right that Birds of Prey did wrong?
I think the number one thing is the rating. It has to be the PG-13. And I was just going to ask you guys this too, not to jump off Mikey's question.
By the way, I want to see the R-rated Sonic, but that's a whole other conversation.
Right. Jim Carrey's doing more things with that sock. With the thing with Birds of Prey is it would be fascinating if somebody asked me on one of the shows, should WB release a PG-13 version of Birds of Prey? Would that be a way to recoup some of the money? They did it with Deadpool 2 with that Fred Savage Princess Bride version. Is it too late for WB to release a PG-13 version to take advantage of the younger girls that didn't get a chance to go see this thing because their dads wouldn't take them to an R-rated movie?
I don't think it's ever too late. I don't think they'll do it. But I mean, and I
do you think if they did that, it's admitting that they were wrong?
Oh, you guys, this was your guys' discussion last week on the Geek Buddies.
Yeah. I mean, I think that could be an HBO Max thing. It's like, hey, we're going to release an edited version of Birds of Prey. Whether or not it would come out well, because they probably weren't shooting things twice. Like they knew they were going for the R rating, so they don't have alternate takes without them dropping F-bombs.
But here's the thing.
True.
33 million, is that what it did?
32.16.
32.16.
And it only dropped 48% in the second week, which is not bad.
Even if
it's not great either.
Even if one of the issues with Birds of Prey is younger kids could not go see this movie, like the adult fan base of DC alone should have easily made more than that. Like that movie did not come in that far below expectations just because of the 13 and under crowd.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if it hadn't hit like Aquaman billions of dollars and it did that, you could be like, oh, it probably had it not been R-rated and you had more kids, but like that doesn't justify that low of a box office. Like people just didn't show up.
Yeah, because it seems like the critical response, along with the fan response, has been very, very positive to it. Now, I don't agree that it was as good as some of the people online are saying, but I certainly thought it was a fine movie.
Yeah. It certainly didn't deserve to underperform.
Yeah.
It felt like this wasn't one of those like Green Lantern situations. It was just a debacle from beginning to end. I think there was enough in the action, there was enough in the character development, there was enough in Margot Robbie's performances, in Ewan McGregor's performance to salvage the film. and make it more effective. And you're right, Mike, you make a great point because, look, Joker R-rated over $1 billion.
Exactly.
So there's certainly an adult base, if you appeal to it correctly, that will come out in droves over and over again to see Birds of Prey. And here's another thing to throw out there, and I don't want to upset anybody. It's three dudes sitting here talking about it, but...
I mean, I'm like half a dude. So.
Okay. He said it, I did. So 54% of the opening weekend audience was male. So this idea that men don't go see female-led action movies, it's a dead narrative, in my opinion. I think men go and women go, depending on if it's a good damn movie. That's what you really want, is a good damn movie. And if it's not good, people aren't going to go.
Yeah, I think...
Or overall,
I think all of the typical sort of Twitter-led arguments for Birds of Prey's failure are sort of just, it's... Guys will go see a female-led superhero movie.
Captain Marvel made over $1 billion.
That has been proven at this point. So
Yeah.
it's not that. Women are going to go show up for a movie that they're excited about.
Yeah.
As Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman and everything shows. And a good chunk of women, I've seen a lot of the responses on Twitter of girls who really, really loved Birds of Prey and loved everything that it did. And I think that's good because, look, they want that representation.
Yeah.
Like it was a completely female-led superhero movie with a bunch of female heroes. Like that was awesome for them. I think comparing it to Sonic, I think ultimately it's a level of messaging at the end of the day. Like Birds of Prey is a fine movie. I don't think I love it as much as other people loved it, but I would honestly go see Margot Robbie play Harley Quinn 12 more times. Like,
Absolutely.
I have literally no problem. And as far as a lot of the other characters, Black Canary, Huntress, Renee Montoya, Cassandra Cain, like I would actually enjoy to see more of them. I would love to dive into their stories further. I thought each of those actresses did a nice job. I would be intrigued to know more about them and see more. So I think like that was all good. But I think at the end of the day, look, Sonic, I'm a hedgehog from another planet. I'm on Earth. James Marsden is a cop. Jim Carrey is chasing me. I mean, like it's like I get it.
Yeah.
And that's what it delivered. And like I said, it didn't do anything amazing. It didn't change the face of Sonic forever or, it didn't, do that. But it's a solid, like you're a parent or you're a video game fan and you're like, I see what they are doing with this character. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a Birds of Prey movie. It's a Harley Quinn movie. There was a lot of mixed messaging and the trailers were so frenetic that even as a hardcore DC fan, and as you said this 1,000 times, like the other characters, especially in the early trailers, were barely even in it, but it's Birds of Prey first and then not Harley Quinn. I think that it has nothing to do with are females showing up, are males showing up, is it a SJW thing? I think all of that goes out the window. I think people were just confused.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a damn good point. This idea of like, well, I was told it was Birds of Prey. I walk in the theater, and it's pretty much Harley Quinn up until the last few minutes of the movie. What's the deal here? And you're right, mixed messaging, because like, if you're pitching me a female empowerment movie, but they don't come together to the last few minutes, is it really a female empowerment movie? If you're pitching me a one-woman story through the journey of heartbreak and coming out the other side a more powerful woman, great. But if you go do it through the Harley Quinn prism, it's so disjointed because she's an unreliable narrator. Maybe people don't like that.
And I think also, just at the end of the day, and this is more of my own personal thing, I think you could make a movie that worked with or without this, but it's like, if you look at the Harley Quinn animated series, it's on DC Direct right now.
Oh, it's great.
Which is also about Harley Quinn breaking up with the Joker and going off on her own. The Joker's a character there. And not that I necessarily want to see Jared Leto, and not that wouldn't have been confusing on the heels of the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and this is sort of getting to the bigger DC issues, but like, if an entire movie is about, I just broke up with the biggest villain in the DC universe, and he's not in the movie for her to play off of.
Right.
I mean, part of a really good empowerment story is getting to the point where you can look the person in the eye and be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't need you anymore.
I'm better than you.
Shannon.
Whoa. Well,
but
tune in next week for
so I think,
Geek Buddies.
But so it's like, oh, here's a story. It's Harley Quinn broke up with the Joker story,
Right.
but the Joker's not in it. But there's also these other women that are all needing to be empowered in their own way too, and they all come together. And like the movie did a ton of things right, but at the end of the day, there's so much confusion. And I mean, look, personally, I think the big issue is that are we in a universe? Are we not in a universe? And I think Joker handled that really well.
Yes.
Joker from day one was like, whatever is happening over here, and by the way, Matt Reeves, the Batman, is doing the same thing. It's like, whatever's happening over here in this DC quagmire that is half in, half out, we're not quite sure, we're not a part of it.
Right.
And that messaging is so clear that going into the Joker, I'm not expecting it. I know I'm going to see a thing. Going to see Matt Reeves' Batman, I know I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, who is in Suicide Squad, which has Ben Affleck in it, and is also in Suicide Squad 2, which is a whole new cast of people except for her, and is also in Birds of Prey with a bunch of characters who are running around in Gotham, but there's no Batman because who the fuck even is Batman at this point?
Right.
I personally, we said this 1,000 times, I would love the DC universe to be like the Marvel universe. If they make the decision to not do that, that's fine too. And I think you're seeing that with movies like Joker and hopefully with the Batman, if that's the decision they make, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think Birds of Prey is still sitting in this middle ground that, again, I think it's messaging and confusion. I think people are kind of like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, yeah. And it's at the end of the day, it was not enough people wanted to come back and see it over and over again, and that's what ended up costing the money or costing it a profit. I mean, that's Aquaman made over $1 billion because people wanted to go see that crazy movie over and over again. Same thing with Joker, and even BVS made a decent amount of cash. Hell, even Suicide Squad made over $770 million. This is going to barely hit just below Shazam money.
Yeah.
And Harley Quinn is way too powerful of a character. Or maybe, and this may be true too, maybe they overestimated how powerful she actually is in terms of appeal.
I disagree. Harley Quinn is... I mean,
she's a relatively new character.
She is a relatively. There was a really great article. I forget where I read it, but it basically tracked. It might have been back when Suicide Squad came out, but it basically was the entire history of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Not just her starting in Batman when Paul Dini and Bruce Timm created her in the animated series, but tracking how her popularity in the animated series led to her being introduced into mainline DC Comics, but that led to her really quickly becoming her own comic book character, getting her own comic book, and her comic book consistently sells as one of the highest DC sales. So like she has broken through in a way that very few characters do. She's hugely popular. I don't think DC is underestimating her popularity.
Okay.
I think if she broke out on her own completely and Margot Robbie just did her own Harley Quinn thing, I think people would be there for it as long as you made it clear.
Right.
I also think, to your point though, I don't think the R rating is all of the reason why it didn't do well, but I do think looking at Sonic, we are making a lot of movies. All of our comic book movies, all of our sci-fi movies, all of our big fantasy movies. As three guys who are a little bit older, we're living in a great time. They're all being made for us. Sonic is made for kids. All of our big genre movies are not necessarily being made, at least just for kids. They're always thinking of the fans and the kids. Sonic is like, it is straight down the line a kids movie. And I think that there is something to be learned there. I'm not saying that Birds of Prey should have been that or every DC movie, but I think that Sonic is feeding a need in movies that is not being fed because fans are being fed so much.
Right. Well, yeah. Also, and it was a holiday weekend.
Yeah,
everyone's gonna have Monday off, so you get an extra day with your family. So yeah, take them. You're gonna take them to see a family movie. I mean, there hasn't really been
kids driving you crazy. Just go see Sonic.
Yeah, you get an hour and 15 minutes off,
which I think is a complete and utter fallacy. I've been in a movie theater with kids. It is not a day off. They are loud. They are constantly fidgeting, kicking chairs, ripping open candy at the most awkward moments.
To be fair, Shannon's that way too.
Oh, well, true.
I don't fidget. I'm not a fidgeter. I'm not a fidgeter.
Kalinowski's a fidgeter, isn't he? No, he's a deep diver in the popcorn. That's what Kalinowski is. That's the best thing about him. But no, I can be a fidgeter. Lord knows you two take turns jettisoning yourselves to the front of the seat and then moving backwards. I don't do that anymore. I used to do that with you all. I don't do that anymore. Just calmly relax and watch the movie.
What? Us leaning forward, how does that distract from your movie-going experience?
That's the fidgeting thing is all I'm talking about.
Leaning forward isn't fidgeting. Leaning forward is being engaged.
You can be engaged sitting back. Engage. I'm just saying. You can do that. Fire. All right. Anyway. All right. Is there anything more to add to this thing? We'll see what happens going forward. We'll see how Suicide Squad 2 is received. I would venture if this doesn't do well, then there's a problem overall with that branch of the DCU films, I would think.
I have a feeling... I don't know what James Gunn is going to do with Suicide Squad, but I have to believe that if it has even a little bit of sort of the flair and style of the Guardians movies.
Okay. Do you anticipate a PG-13?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, I anticipate PG-13.
I think the days of the R-rated DC film not named Joker are probably done.
Wow. If Batman comes out, it'll be...
I don't know that I agree with that, but I think that Suicide Squad 2 will probably be PG-13.
Yeah. How about Batman?
Batman. Absolutely.
Batman will be PG-13.
They're not going to rate
the Batman will be PG-13.
I wish it was rated R. What do you think about my last idea? And that is Ben Affleck coming back in 15 years to play Dark Knight Returns Bruce Wayne in an R-rated standalone Batman live-action Dark Knight Returns movie. Oh my God, you a-hole! You absolute a-hole.
I don't like that idea as much as Michael Keaton playing older Batman for a Batman Beyond film.
I'm cool with that.
Michael Keaton playing Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond movie, 1,010%. Ben Affleck coming back to do Dark Knight Returns. It's like he was barely the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like
Peter Weller was never the Dark Knight till he voiced it over for Dark Knight Returns. Should have been Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, okay.
Just saying, they make decisions. Sometimes is all I'm saying.
As much as I didn't like, and I know we're wrapping up, but as much as I was not a fan of Batman versus Superman, I thought Ben Affleck did a great job in that film. I still don't think he was the right guy.
Okay. Well, that's my phone. There we go. I guess we got to call it a day.
Take
all
that.
right. Well, thanks everybody for watching this episode of the Geek Buddies. Always appreciate you all downloading the podcast or hitting click and play to watch us on the YouTube channel. Now that we're on the Outlaw Nation channel. Yes, hello. What do we got to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at @Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it's at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, at The Rocha Says.
There you go, Mikey. What else?
Hey, leave us some comments. Right down here. If you just go right down here, you can leave a little comment about what you thought of us. We'll check those out. And if you're listening, whether you're listening on Anchor or iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to us, give us some ratings, give us some comments, and listen. If Ben Affleck can be so open about his life and his personal stories, you can certainly tell people that you listen to Geek Buddies. So go out there, give us some retweets, tell people to check us out, tell your friends who love geeky stuff to check us out, add them to the conversation. The more people that join, the longer we're going to do this, the longer we get to be your Geek Buddies, and you get to hear us wax poetic about things like Sonic the Hedgehog and Harley Quinn.
And Stranger Things, too. Yeah, thank you all so
Stranger
much.
Things 4.
I'm sorry, 4. I meant Stranger Things as well, Stranger Things 2. But
I was very good. Was it TWOTOO? I don't know.
Sorry, you're right. It's 4. I see the comment being typed there. Oh, great. Thanks. Appreciate
Grammar police.
Okay, you idiots. All right, well, thanks so much. That's appreciate that. All right, thanks everybody for downloading, like I said, or watching this episode of the Geek Buddies, and we'll talk to you next time on
The Geek Buddies! Hey!